Hi everyone, so in this video we'll be looking at expanding single brackets, okay? And the first thing I want you to think about is this following question over here. So 3 times by 2x plus 4, okay? I want you to think about what does it actually mean when you've got a 3 outside and you're multiplying it by this expression over here, okay? Well, one way to think about it is the following. It means that there's 3 lots of 2x plus 4. So I can go ahead and write down 2x plus 4, 2x plus 4, and 2x plus 4, okay, 3 times. And I know that it just means that there's 3 lots of them. So I can actually put an add sign in the middle of these, okay? It's the same as when you're doing multiplication. So if instead we had, for example, 3 times by 6, then I know that that just means that there's 3 lots of 6s that are being added together. Okay, so similarly, the rule applies here with algebra as well. So let's go ahead and think about how I can actually collect like terms and simplify my expression over here. Okay, so I know I've got 2x plus another 2x plus another 2x. Then I've got, for numbers, I've got a plus 4, and another plus 4. So I'm going to go ahead and actually collect them. So I've got 2, 4, 6, 6x, 4, 8, and 12. Okay, so the answer is 6x plus 12. Okay, so that's one way of doing it, but we actually have another quicker way of thinking about it as well, instead of writing it out in full. Because imagine if we had 10 outside, that means I'll have to write down 2x plus 4 10 times and actually add them all together, the individual terms. So instead what I can do is just expand my single bracket by using arrows as well. Okay, so I can do 3 times by 2x first and then do 3 times by positive 4. Okay, so 3 times by 2x gives us 6x, and 3 times by 4 gives us 12. Okay, so therefore I know that the answer is just going to be 6x plus 12. Okay, so let's take a look at some more examples. So in this one, for instance, I've got a variable on the outside as well. So variable, and by a variable I mean an unknown. Okay, so I've got 4y times by 3x minus 4y. So again, I'm going to go ahead and draw my arrows. Okay, you don't have to draw them, but they are there to kind of help you and remind you that you need to remember to multiply what's on the outside by everything what's on the inside. Okay, so first of all I'll do 4y times by 3x. Okay, so that's just going to give me 4 times 3 is 12, and then the x and y I'm just going to write in numerical order like this. You can write them in any order, so it could be 12yx as well. It's the same thing. The order doesn't matter of how you write your variables, okay? And then what I need to remember to do is 4y times by negative 4y, okay? It's quite important that you include the signs in your multiplication as well, so that you're not forgetting about them, okay? So 4y times by negative 4y would give me negative 16y squared. Okay, so when you're multiplying your variables, remember you're adding you're adding the powers. So in this case, I've got an invisible 1 on both of my y's. When we've got a 1 as a power, we tend to not write it in maths, okay? So you'll just see it as y and y. But we do have that 1, so you can write that there to remind you to add your powers for your final answer, okay? And that means that finally I'm left with 12xy take away 16y squared as my answer. Okay, so this next example is quite an interesting one, and that's because I've got 3x minus 4 on the outside, and on the inside of my brackets I've got y minus 8 this time. What I need to remember is, because there's no brackets around this expression here, I can't just multiply everything on the outside by everything on the inside of this bracket, okay? And that's another topic on its own, expanding double brackets, which we'll look at in the next video, okay? But for now, what we need to remember with single brackets is that I'm just going to be focusing on multiplying this negative 4 by everything on the inside of this bracket, okay? And for that, what I need to be doing is getting another pen, color pen to remind me that I need to draw my arrows and multiply that by everything on the inside. So let's start off by doing negative 4 times by y. That gives me negative 4y, remember? And negative 4 now times by negative 8, okay? So two negatives would give you a positive answer, and the answer would be 32, okay? And okay, so now that I've actually done my expanding, what I need to remember is I need to also deal with this 3x on the outside. So I've got as my answers negative 4y and positive 32. But I need to remember to be adding them onto my 3x because that's what it's out there for. So 3x, take away 4y, and then add 32. Well, I can't actually simplify this expression any further because I've got no common terms or like terms. So I'm going to leave it as it is, and that's my final answer. Okay, so for my next example, I've actually got quite a long expression actually. So I've got x times by 3x plus 6x squared minus 4x times by 5x minus 9. Now I've got two single brackets in one question, okay? So the way to deal with it would be to deal with them one at a time. So I'm going to take this first one, expand it, and then we'll look at the second one. So I've got x times by 3x, and I need to also remember to times it by my 6x squared. So let's go ahead and do that. X times by 3x gives me 3x squared, and then x times by 6x squared gives me 6x cubed. Okay, so that's the answer to that one. And then if we move over to the negative 4x times by 5x minus 9, just drawing my arrows, and then let's go ahead and solve it. So I need to remember to be doing negative 4x times by 5x. That gives me negative 20x squared. Remember, we're adding the powers, which is 1 on both of these x's. And then negative 4x times by negative 9, which gives me positive 36x, okay? And then the last step I need to do is actually remember to collect all of my like terms together from both of my answers here, okay? So I've got 3x squared from the top plus 6x squared, cubed, and take away, hold on, I'll just do that with a different color pen. So I've got take away 20x squared and then add a 36x, okay? And then what I need to be remembering to do is now collect my like terms. So I've got an x squared here and another x squared here, so I can collect them together, okay? So that gives me 3x squared minus 20x squared gives me negative 17x squared. The plus 6x cubed does not have any like terms, so I'll keep it as it is, and same with the 36x. Okay, so that's my final answer. Okay, so I can leave it as it is, or what I prefer to do is rewrite it in a way so that I'm not starting with a negative, okay, number. So I can write it as 36x take away 17x squared and then plus 6x cubed. Now you can write these in any order, it's up to you, but that's just a nicer way of writing it. Okay, so you're not starting off with a negative number in your answer. Okay, so next I've got some problem solving questions for us to be doing. So for example, in the first one, we've got a rectangle has a length of a plus 3 centimeters and a height of 4 centimeters. And they want you to find an expression for its perimeter. Okay, so we've got to just revise what does a perimeter mean, and for that what we can do is just sketch out the shape. So that means a rectangle in this instance. Okay, so we've been given the dimensions that the length is a plus 3, okay, and the width is 4 centimeters. Just put brackets around as well. And what we need to do is work out the perimeter, okay? And remember, the perimeter is just the boundary of any shape. When you're walking around the boundary of a shape, what is the actual distance? So that means I need to add all of my side lengths together. So that's 4 plus a plus 3, and then plus a plus 3 again, okay, to count for the two sides. So that means my answer should be 16 plus 2a. and then plus 3 and 3, which gives us 6. And then the final answer is just 16 plus 6 is 22, and then plus 2a. And we've got to remember to add the centimetre as well on the end. So that's the perimeter. Okay, so next they've asked us to work out the expression for the area of this rectangle. Okay, so again, I'm going to go ahead and sketch my rectangle. Okay, good thing in these questions is always sketch out your problem, because that really helps you to see and visualize what the question is asking you to do. Okay, even if you don't know straight away what you need to be doing. So again, I'm going to label my sides. The length is a plus 3, and the height is 4 centimeters and 4 centimeters. Okay, so for the area, remember what we're doing is working out how much space is inside of my shape. So I need to multiply the length by the width. So that means I'm doing 4 times by a plus 3. And now this actually looks quite similar to what we've been doing, expanding single brackets. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. Draw out my arrows and then multiply this out. So that means I'm doing 4 times a, which is 4a, and then 4 times by positive 3, which is positive, not 15, sorry, it is positive 12. Okay, and remember to add your centimeters squared because it's area. Okay, even though we are working with letters and unknowns and it's not a one single answer which we're used to with area, we need to remember to put the centimeters and the squared. So we've got to remember our units in the answer. Okay, so for the next question again, I've got a problem solving one. So it says that a plot of land is 5 miles wide and 2 times by c minus 3 miles long. I need to find an expression for the area. Okay, so what I'm going to do is again draw my sketch so I can tell, because they've not said that it's a square that all the sides are equal, I can go ahead and assume that it's a rectangle. Okay, because the side lengths are different. So I've got 5 miles wide. Okay, so 5 miles, and I've got 2 times by c minus 3 as the length of it. So to work out the area, again, I've got to be remembering to multiply out my length and width. So 2 times by c minus 3, and it's been times by 5. So I've got to expand this bracket here first. Okay, so I'm going to again go ahead and use my arrows. Okay, so that means that I've got 2 times by c is 2c times by 2 times by negative 3, which is negative 6. And I've got to remember to be timesing it by a 5. Okay, so what I can do is, because it looks a bit horrible because my number is this time on this side, I can go ahead and just write it on the other side. Because I am just multiplying them out, and the order in which you write your number doesn't really change the meaning of it. So again, I've got to expand my bracket. So 5 times by 2c gives me 10c. 5 times by negative 6 gives me negative 30. Okay, so that's the final answer. Okay, so lastly, I've got a question which is linked to the previous one that I just asked, and it says that a similar piece of land has the same size, okay, and we've got to work out the perimeter. Now, by the same size, it just means that it's got to have the same area, okay, so that means, and if you remember, the area of the previous one was 10c minus 30, so that means that my side lengths could be the same or could be different. And I need to work out the perimeter now, okay? So now there are lots of possible answers for this, okay? I can just work out 2 side lengths that when you multiply them, it gives you 10c minus 30, okay? And then from that, I can just work out the perimeter by adding all the side lengths together. So one possible way in which we can do this is just halving it, okay? So I can halve this, which is 5c, and then minus 15, and then remember to multiply by 2, so that when I multiply them together, I get this area, okay? So that's one answer. So I can write a 2 here and 5c minus 15 here. And then the question is actually asking me to work out the perimeter. So the perimeter means I've just got to add all of my side lengths together, okay? So I'm just going to write down all my side lengths and add them together. So 2 plus 2 is 4. and then 5c plus 5c is 10c, and then the negative 15 minus 15 is negative 30. And then 4 minus 30 is negative 26, and I've still got my plus 10c. Okay, so that could be the perimeter, and remembering to have your scale as well, your units. So it was in miles, so I'm just going to put miles here. Now that's one way in which we can work out the perimeter and the side lengths. There are lots of possible other variations, and if you find another way, then I would like you to put it in the comments and tell me what are the other side lengths that you could think of, another possible solution. Okay, so if you found this tutorial beneficial, then make sure to give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends and family, and also subscribe to my channel for more videos. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.